My name's Lucas. I'm 37 years old and I live in Cotton Ridge, Idaho. Real quiet town. Not much happens here. I work in freight logistics, basically keeping truck routes and delivery schedules from falling apart. It's not glamorous, but it pays solid and I'm good at it. I've been married to Jamie for 9 years. We met in college, back when everything felt bigger than it actually was. She was studying psychology, always surrounded by people, always talking, laughing. I was a systems guy, computer labs and code. I think that's what drew me to her. She had this energy that just pulled you in. I was the quiet guy who sat in the back of the lecture hall, and she walked right up to me after class one day like we already knew each other. We clicked fast. Dated for 2 years, got married the year after graduation. We bought a little 2-bedroom ranch on the east side of town. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. I remember the first time we painted the living room, argued for an hour over the shade of blue, then laughed about it over pizza on the floor. Those first few years were easy. We both had decent jobs, no major debt, and we were already saving for a future we were sure was going to happen. By year 3, we started trying for kids. It felt like the natural next step. Month after month, nothing happened. We waited. We hoped. Then came the appointments, specialists, labs, more waiting. The answers didn't come, but the stress did. Jamie started pulling back, and I didn't know how to pull her back in. Her little sister Kayla had her second kid by then, and Jamie couldn't stop comparing. She'd say things like, "Maybe I'm broken," and I didn't know how to fix that kind of hurt. I tried, but our bedroom turned cold. Conversations became short. We tiptoed around each other like strangers with shared bills. By year 7, we stopped trying. That was a hard silence to sit in. We didn't talk about it. We just let the topic die. And slowly the space between us grew bigger than the house. But I held on. I kept telling myself it was just a rough patch, just a season. You don't just walk away from 9 years. And I still saw pieces of the girl I married buried under the quiet. Then Kayla showed up one Saturday morning, dragging 2 kids in a suitcase behind her. No warning, no heads up. Just knocked and said, "We need a place to crash." Quick note, before we go further, share which city or country you're watching from. Jamie didn't even blink, just opened the door and told her to come in. That's when the quiet in our home turned into chaos. Kayla plopped down on our couch like she owned it. Her boys were already tearing through the living room, dropping toy trucks and shoes like we were a daycare. She didn't even ask, just said, "Mike kicked us out." Again, like that explained everything. Jamie wrapped her in a hug so fast, it made my stomach turn. I stood there holding my coffee, watching our home turn into a circus in under 5 minutes. The older kid was yelling about cartoons. The little one smeared jelly on our beige recliner. Kayla tossed her purse on the dining table and looked around like she was scoping out her next move. "We'll just crash for a few days," she said, brushing her hair back and sighing dramatically. "Just need time to figure stuff out." Jamie nodded, no hesitation. "Of course. Stay as long as you need." I bit the inside of my cheek. I didn't want to be the bad guy, not in front of the kids, but everything in me said this was going to be a disaster. I looked at Jamie. "Just a few days, right?" "Lucas," she said, giving me that sharp look that meant drop it. I didn't drop it, but I swallowed it, for then. By the end of the first week, Kayla had completely taken over. Empty wine bottles lined the kitchen counter like trophies. Her laundry was scattered across the bathroom floor. The kids camped out in the hallway and somehow kept ending up in my office, my one space, with their sticky fingers and loud iPads. I walked in one evening after work and found Kayla on the couch, feet up, glass of wine in hand, flipping through our streaming apps like it was her subscription. Jamie was next to her, giggling at something on the screen. I hadn't heard that laugh in years, but it wasn't mine she was laughing at. "Hey," I said, dropping my keys in the bowl by the door. "Anyone make dinner or—" Jamie waved toward the kitchen. "There's leftover pizza." I stood there a second too long, hoping she'd look at me. She didn't. A couple nights later, I brought it up, quietly after the kids were in bed. "Any idea how long your sister's planning to stay?" Jamie didn't look up from her phone. "She's going through a lot right now." "I get that," I said, "but this is a lot. I can't even get into my own office. I've got deadlines." "She's family, Lucas." Her voice snapped like a whip. "She needed help. It's not forever. Feels like it already is." She finally looked at me. "You never liked her. You've made that clear." "That's not fair," I said, trying to keep calm. "I just don't like living in a zoo." "Then maybe go stay in a cage somewhere quieter." I blinked. That one hit low. She didn't even apologize. The next morning, I found a wine ring on my laptop. One of the kids had moved my mouse and changed the screen settings. Kayla brushed past me in the hallway wearing one of Jamie's old hoodies and holding a half-full mug that clearly wasn't hers. "And chill out, tech boy," she said with a smirk. "Kids were just watching dinosaur videos." "Relax," I stepped in front of her. "Stay out of my office." She rolled her eyes. "God, lighten up." I was losing my grip on my own damn house. Every corner had fingerprints that weren't mine. Every drawer was moved, every routine upended. Jamie used to care about things being neat, organized. Now she let Kayla run wild and acted like I was the one with the problem. They stayed up late talking on the porch, wine glasses clinking. I'd hear bursts of laughter through the window while I tried to sleep. I stopped asking what they talked about. The distance between me and Jamie felt like an actual wall now, thick and cold. One night, I walked in and found them dancing in the kitchen barefoot, a song playing on Jamie's phone. The boys were asleep, the lights were low, and Jamie looked alive in a way I hadn't seen in years. She didn't even see me standing there. Jamie didn't even see me standing there. I waited a second, then cleared my throat. She turned, startled, then smiled like I'd just walked into someone else's party. "You're home early," she said, brushing hair from her face. "It's 9:30, I said flatly. Kayla grabbed her glass from the counter and smirked. "Party pooper alert." I didn't respond. I just went to the fridge, grabbed a water, and walked back to the bedroom without saying a word. The next morning, I tried again. "Jamie," I said, leaning on the doorframe while she folded laundry, "we need to talk about Kayla. I've been patient." She dropped the shirt in her hands and looked at me like I'd insulted her mother. "There it is." Again what? "You always have a problem with her. Always. You never liked her because she crashes into people's lives and expects everyone to clean up after her," I snapped. "This isn't about me not liking her. This is about our home turning into her playground. She's going through something, Lucas." "So are we," I said. Or did that stop mattering when she walked in with her suitcase? Jamie crossed her arms. "You gave up. On the family we wanted. The life we planned." I stared at her. "What the hell are you talking about? You checked out the moment we stopped trying for kids." I stepped back like she'd slapped me. "I gave you space. I thought that's what you needed." She laughed bitterly. "You gave up and disappeared behind your spreadsheets. At least Kayla talks to me." Something cracked inside me then. Not loud, just quiet and deep. That night, Kayla was sprawled across the living room with her kids, popcorn everywhere, blasting some cartoon like it was a theater. I walked past to grab something from the hallway, and one of the boys launched a ball right into my coffee mug. "Whoops," Kayla said with a grin. "Guess the ball wins." Jamie just chuckled from the kitchen, didn't even look up. The next morning, I locked my office door before work, took the key with me. 5 minutes into my Zoom meeting, Kayla knocked, then banged. "Yo, you got the iPad charger in there?" she shouted. "I'm working." "You're always working." "Chill out." "Go away, Kayla," she snorted. God, no wonder Jamie's always tense. I muted the call and stood up. "I said go." She smirked through the door like it was a joke. Later that afternoon, Jamie came into the office without knocking. She must have found the spare key. "She just needed the charger," she said, like I was the unreasonable one. "She needs her own damn apartment." Jamie turned to leave. "If you hate living here so much, maybe you should go stay at your brother's." I stared at her back as she walked away. I wasn't just edged out anymore. I was erased. Kayla kept making digs. Little things, rolling her eyes when I spoke, cutting me off mid-sentence at dinner. The boys started calling my office the game room. One night, I tried to sit on the couch, my spot, and found a giant pink unicorn pillow and a pile of half-folded laundry. "Where am I supposed to sit?" I asked. Kayla walked in, glass of wine in hand. "Try the porch. It's nice and quiet out there." Jamie didn't say a word, so I went outside and sat in the dark with a drink, listening to them laugh through the window like I was just a noise behind glass. They were building a world that didn't need me in it, and I was done pretending I didn't see it. The next morning, I walked into my office and stopped cold. Kayla was in my chair, spinning lazily, her feet up on my desk. Some guy I didn't recognize, tight shirt, backwards hat, was leaning over the keyboard, clicking through windows like it was his damn computer. "What the hell are you doing?" I asked, stepping inside. Kayla glanced back, completely unfazed. "Relax. Just needed to look at some documents. That's my work laptop," she laughed. Chill out, it's divorce stuff. He's helping me with a custody letter. The guy turned around, smiled like I was the one interrupting. It's all good, man. Just printing a template, I pushed past him and checked the screen. They'd been in my cloud drive. I recognized the folders, pay stubs, W-2s, investment records, even our joint account info. I yanked the mouse out of his hand. Get the hell out of my office. Dude, he muttered, throwing up his hands. Jesus. Kayla stood up slow, squinting at me like I was being unreasonable. You're seriously losing it. You went through my personal files. She rolled her eyes. I didn't go through anything. I clicked. That's it. Those are password protected. She shrugged. Guess you should have picked better passwords. I looked at her, stunned. Get out. Both of you. They left, laughing like it was a joke, like I was the punchline. I slammed the door behind them, locked it, and pulled up my account activity. She'd been digging, not just clicking random files. She'd opened tax returns, bank statements, even my retirement info. I felt sick. When Jamie got home, I didn't wait. She went through my financials, on my work machine, with some guy I've never even seen before. Jamie dropped her bag on the table and didn't even flinch. It's not a big deal, Lucas. Not a big deal? It's theft. She needed help, she cut in, irritated. And you're being dramatic. She opened my tax records. She said she was doing paperwork for her case. And that makes it okay? Jamie rubbed her forehead. You've always been paranoid about your stuff. Control freak tendencies, Lucas. Honestly, it's exhausting. I stepped back, stunned. Are you serious right now? Dead serious. She violated my privacy. She was trying to get help. And you're siding with her? Jamie crossed her arms. I'm tired of this narrative where you're the victim. Maybe if you actually showed up for this family, you'd feel less like a stranger. My jaw tightened. This family? You mean your sister and her wine rack? Her eyes burned. You don't even see what's happening, do you? You checked out years ago. No, I said quietly. I gave you space when you needed it. I tried to keep things steady. I've been holding this house together while you let her burn it down. Jamie shook her head. You're being dramatic. You don't even sleep in the same room anymore, I said. You barely talk to me unless she's not around. And now you're defending her breaking into my stuff? You're being controlling. That's what this is. That word landed like a fist. I'd bent over backwards trying to stay out of the way, to avoid making Jamie feel cornered. And now I was the controlling one? I didn't say anything else. I walked back into my office, locked the door, and shut the blinds. The next morning, I made coffee and found Kayla barefoot in the kitchen, singing off-key and letting the boys throw cereal across the table. Jamie sat at the counter, laughing. I stood there for a second. They didn't even notice me, and right then, I realized I'd been kicked out without ever leaving. I walked in the door and smelled garlic, actual cooking, not takeout. That was the first red flag. Then I heard voices, multiple, laughter. I stepped into the dining room and froze. Kayla, the kids, Jamie's parents, and Jamie standing at the head of the table like she was hosting Thanksgiving. Look who finally made it, Kayla said, raising her wine glass. Jamie didn't even look surprised. We started without you. I figured you'd be late. I wasn't late. I came home the same time I always did. Her dad nodded at me. Hey there, Lucas. Her mom smiled politely, already cutting up chicken for one of the boys. The whole table was full. Roast chicken, potatoes, green beans. It looked like something out of a damn magazine. I hadn't seen Jamie cook like that in years. I sat down at the end of the table, opposite Kayla. No one asked if I wanted a plate. So Kayla, her mom said, eyes glowing, how's the job search going? Kayla rolled her eyes dramatically. It's a process, but I'm trying to stay positive. You're doing amazing, Jamie said, smiling wide. Honestly, I don't know how you juggle it all. Kayla laughed like that was the funniest thing in the world. Oh, please, you're the one keeping me sane. I'd probably be in jail without you. The table erupted with laughter. I sat there, chewing dry chicken and listening to everyone treat her like the damn hero. No one asked how my day was, or how work was going, or anything. So, Lucas, her dad finally said, passing the salt, you still doing that freight stuff? Yeah, I said, still managing routes. Same company. He nodded, already turning back toward Kayla. I drank water, ate silently, watched Kayla run the table like she owned it. Every story, every laugh, every compliment funneled straight to her. Then it happened. Kayla leaned back in her chair, smirking. You know what's wild? Sometimes I walk through this house and forget Lucas even lives here. I looked up. She kept going. I mean, seriously, he's like a ghost. Boo! She wiggled her fingers at me. Bet if he disappeared one day, nobody would notice for at least a week. Laughter. Her mom chuckled behind her napkin. Jamie laughed. I waited for someone, anyone, to say it was out of line, to say that's enough. Nothing. I stood up. Excuse me. The room went quiet for half a second before the conversation picked back up like I hadn't been there at all. I walked down the hallway, into the bedroom, shut the door, and sat on the edge of the bed. My hands were clenched and I didn't even realize it. 10 minutes later, Jamie walked in. Why'd you bail on dinner like that? I looked at her. Did you hear what she said? Jamie sighed. It was a joke. It wasn't funny. She didn't mean it like that. She never means it like that, I said. And you never stop her. Jamie crossed her arms. You're overreacting again. I shook my head. I'm done being the punching bag in my own house. She's family, Lucas. And I'm what? I stood up. Furniture? A placeholder? You're acting crazy. That was it. Something in me just clicked. I didn't yell, didn't throw anything. I just nodded. Okay. Jamie looked confused. Okay, what? You'll see. I walked out of the room and down the hall, my brain already shifting into gear. Plans, backup accounts, quiet exits. I was going to test Kayla's little theory. I was going to disappear and see who noticed. I started that same night, opened a new checking account under just my name, rerouted my paycheck, got a new Gmail, a P.O. box. Nothing dramatic, just quiet moves. Next day, I told my manager I'd be working remote full-time. We'd been hybrid since the pandemic anyway. I had the numbers to back it up. He didn't even blink. By the weekend, I found a cabin 2 hours north, outside Elk Falls. 1 bedroom, wood stove, spotty cell signal. Perfect. I paid 3 months up front and told the landlord I wanted keys in hand within the week. Back home, everything kept rolling like I wasn't there. Kayla left makeup wipes in the sink. Jamie stayed glued to her phone. I didn't ask where they went. They didn't ask where I was going. Then I bought the camera, black, palm-sized, motion-activated. I told Jamie it was for home security. She nodded without looking up. I set it up in the living room, angled toward the front door, but wide enough to catch the stairs, the hallway, the couch. I tested it twice. Worked like a charm. 3 days later, I got the footage. Jamie came in around 3 p.m., wearing leggings, a zip-up hoodie, and that gym bag she never actually used. A guy followed behind her, tall, clean-cut, looked familiar. I paused the video, zoomed in. Clay, the guy from her spin class. He'd said hi to me once at a Christmas party. I hit play again. Jamie dropped her bag, laughed at something he said, then leaned in and kissed him. Not a peck, not a mistake. A full body, eyes closed, 2 hands on his face kiss. She took his hand and walked him upstairs. I sat at my desk for 20 minutes without moving. It didn't even hurt. Not like I thought it would. I just felt cold. That night, I made copies. 1 USB, 1 printed photo. I started packing slowly. Just my stuff. Just what I'd need. By the end of the week, I had a backpack ready in the closet, packed right under a folded hoodie. Paperwork in the outer pocket, bank info, my new lease, a burner phone, and divorce papers. I downloaded and filled out. I printed 1 letter, short, direct, honest. Jamie, you made your choice. This is mine. Lucas. The house was quiet that Sunday morning. Jamie and Kayla had taken the kids to some zoo event. I watched them pile into the car, laughing like a sitcom cast. Soon as they were out of the driveway, I moved, went room to room like a shadow. Took my laptop, packed the last chargers, left my wedding ring on the desk, dropped the USB and the photo on my pillow next to the letter and the sealed envelope with the divorce papers. I looked around one last time. The couch was covered in Legos. There was a sock in the fruit bowl. My name hadn't lived in this house for a long time. I walked out, locked the door behind me, and slid the spare key under the mat. Didn't say goodbye, didn't leave a note for Kayla, didn't check my phone. I just drove. 2 hours later, I pulled into the gravel driveway of the cabin. The air smelled like pine. There was no Wi-Fi, no screaming kids, no sister-in-law, no betrayal, Just silence. Exactly what I needed. I unpacked the last box that night, tossed it in the fire pit out back, and watched it burn. The cabin was small, barely 700 square feet, but it was mine. One bedroom, stone fireplace, screened-in porch, and nothing but trees for miles. No footsteps overhead, no slammed doors. No wine bottles clinking on the counter. Silence for once actually felt good. The first couple days were quiet. Too quiet, honestly. No missed calls, no texts, not even a "where are you?" from Jamie. I thought maybe they hadn't found the letter yet, or maybe they had and just didn't care. I didn't care either, or at least that's what I kept telling myself. I started hiking just to get out. There were trails a few minutes down the road, steep ones, rocky, but worth the view. By the third day, I'd met an older guy named Dave who ran the general store, and a woman named Maria who owned the coffee shop near the trailhead. She made strong black coffee and talked like she'd known me 20 years, even though we'd only exchanged names twice. That weekend, I stopped by the town library and picked up a book on mountain wildlife. The librarian, Cheryl, invited me to a Tuesday book club. I showed up expecting 5 people. There were 20. I didn't say much the first time, but I went back the next week. It felt like breathing again. Simple. Nobody asked where my wife was. Nobody cared if I looked tired or wore the same flannel twice. Then, 10 days in, the messages started. First one, "What the hell, Lucas?" Then, "Is this a joke? Where are you?" Then, "You can't just vanish. Call me." I didn't answer, not one of them. The tone shifted fast. Anger turned to confusion, then sadness. "I'm sorry. We need to talk. I miss you. Please come home." She didn't get it. I wasn't coming home. Home was gone the second she let someone else walk upstairs with her. My lawyer called to confirm she'd received the divorce papers, signed the acknowledgement, but hadn't returned anything yet. That was fine. I wasn't rushing. Weeks passed. I hiked. Red showed up at book club. Started helping Maria fix a broken espresso machine one afternoon and ended up staying 3 hours, talking about music and weather and how small towns still felt like real life. A month after I left, I opened my inbox and saw a new email from Jamie. Subject: I messed up. It was long. She said Kayla was gone, left in the middle of the night after stealing from her. Some jewelry, cash, even Jamie's backup credit card. Said she was done with her for good. She wrote that she was sorry, that she didn't see what she was doing to me until it was too late, that she hadn't even known how far gone we were until I disappeared, that she missed me, not just the version of me she wanted to fix. She said she understood now. She said she loved me. She said she was lost. I read it once, then again. Then I closed it, didn't reply, didn't forward it to my lawyer. I didn't need to. The message had come too late, and honestly, I wasn't angry anymore. I was just done. Out here, nobody talked over me. Nobody walked through my boundaries or laughed in my face. I'd left everything behind, and for the first time in years, I didn't regret it. Maria was wiping down the counter when I walked into the coffee shop that morning. It was early, barely 8 a.m., mist still curling off the road. "Your usual?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, sliding onto the stool by the window. The bell over the door rang again before she could pour the coffee. I glanced back and froze. Scott Benson, from Cotton Ridge. Used to live 2 houses down from us, always out mowing his lawn in shorts no matter the season. He spotted me, nodded like this was totally normal, and walked straight over. "Lucas," he said, "didn't think I'd actually find you." My jaw tightened. "How?" "Rental records," he said. Took a little digging. Maria raised an eyebrow. "Friend of yours?" "Old neighbor," I said, without taking my eyes off him. She handed me my mug and gave Scott a polite smile before stepping away. He sat across from me without asking. Pulled something from his coat pocket, an envelope, thick and slightly crumpled, and slid it across the table. "From Jamie," he said. "She didn't have your new address, obviously. She asked me to bring it if I found you I didn't touch it. Why'd you say yes?" Scott shrugged. "Honestly, she's not doing great. House is for sale. She lost her job last week. Kayla's gone. Haven't seen her in months. She's alone now." I looked at the envelope. My name was written in her handwriting, careful, like she took her time. "You don't have to read it," he said. "Just figured. You'd want to know she's finally feeling it." I nodded slowly, took the envelope, and slipped it into my jacket. Scott stood up. "All right, man. Take care of yourself. You too." He left. I didn't finish my coffee. Back at the cabin, I sat at the table for a while with the envelope in front of me. The fire crackled behind me. The wind tapped the windows. I thought about tossing the letter in the flames, but I didn't. I opened it. Jamie's handwriting looked smaller than I remembered, tighter. She started with an apology, a real one. Said she was sorry for everything. Every time she made me feel invisible, unwanted, alone. She said she'd signed the divorce papers and closed them. She admitted what I already knew. Kayla had never just been lost. She was manipulative, selfish, and Jamie had let her take over our lives because it was easier than facing what we were losing, what she had lost. Then she got to the part that stuck with me. She said she knew about Clay. She admitted she'd checked out long before that happened. She didn't blame me for leaving, said she would have left too, said I deserved better. She ended with, "I hope you find peace. I really do. I hope you're finally seen." I folded the letter and placed it back in the envelope, sat still for a while. That was it. That chapter was over. It didn't need a response. It didn't deserve one. I stood up, walked outside, and breathed in the cold mountain air until my chest ached. In a good way. 3 weeks later, I got the text. "I'm in Elk Falls. Just 5 minutes. Please no name, no follow-up, just that." I stared at the screen for a full minute. My stomach turned. I knew exactly who it was. I left the phone on the table and drove straight to the general store. Scott was behind the counter, bagging someone's groceries. He saw me and froze. I waited until the other customer left. "You gave her my location." He exhaled hard. "Yeah, I did. Why?" "She came to my house crying, Lucas. Said she was spiraling, said she wasn't eating, said she just wanted to say goodbye, right? And you believe that?" He looked tired. I didn't know what else to do. She looked bad. I nodded. "You shouldn't have." "I know." Back at the cabin, I stared at the message again. I wasn't curious. I wasn't hopeful, but I wasn't angry either. I texted back, "Where?" She replied within seconds. "Cedar Creek Lodge, front bench, 3 p.m. I got there 5 minutes early. She was already waiting. She looked smaller, hair pulled back, no makeup. Jeans and an oversized jacket that didn't fit right. Her face was pale, her eyes hollow. For a second, I barely recognized her. She stood when she saw me. "Thank you for coming." I didn't answer, just nodded toward the trail behind the lodge. We walked along the river path, slow, quiet steps, no one else around. "I'm not here to beg," she said after a minute. "I just needed to look you in the eye and say, I'm sorry." I stayed quiet. "I'm in therapy now," she added. 2 weeks in, trying to figure out how I let everything fall apart. I looked over. "You didn't just let it fall. You kicked it down." "I know," she whispered. We stopped by the edge of the river. She wrapped her arms around herself. "I used Kayla as a shield," she said. "I let her be the distraction so I didn't have to face how far we drifted. I knew I was losing you, and instead of fighting for us, I just disappeared into the chaos." "And Clay?" I asked. She didn't look at me. That was about control, about feeling wanted again. It was selfish and weak. I nodded. She turned toward me. "Do you think someday we could ever try again?" "No," I said, calm, clear. "Too much broke, and you didn't protect me when it counted." Her eyes filled, but she didn't argue. "I had to ask," she said. "I know." We stood there another minute, just listening to the river. Then I turned. "Take care of yourself, Jamie." "You too." We didn't hug, didn't shake hands, just walked in opposite directions. I got back to the cabin, made coffee, and sat by the fire with the door open. The air smelled like rain. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel pulled in any direction. I just felt free. The next day I woke up to snow, just a dusting, thin and soft, across the porch railing. The cabin was quiet, the fire from last night long burned out. I poured coffee, stepped outside, and let the cold bite a little. It felt clean, like a reset. Around noon, I drove into town. Maria waved from behind the counter, already holding up a cinnamon roll I didn't ask for. "On the house," she said. "You look lighter." I nodded. "Feel it too." Dave stopped by my table, started talking about some community project, trail cleanup or a new footbridge, something like that. I told him I'd help. Cheryl from the library was setting up a holiday reading event and asked if I could read aloud. I said yes without thinking, and then my phone buzzed. Not Jamie, Rachel, from book club. Always sat 2 chairs down. Sharp wit, quiet smile. Had this way of speaking that made you lean in without realizing it. Her text was simple. Hey, you want to grab dinner sometime? Just us. I stared at it a second, felt a small smile pull at the corner of my mouth. Sure, I typed back. When? She responded almost instantly. Thursday? I'm in. I sat back in my chair and looked out the window. The snow was starting to melt into the gravel. A kid ran past the shop with a red sled, laughing like his world had no weight. Mine used to feel like that too, a long time ago. And now, somehow, in this little town with no noise, no performance, no one tugging me in every direction, I felt seen, not just watched, seen. I thought of Jamie for a moment, not with bitterness, just as a chapter, one I'd finished reading. I hoped she found her own way. I really did. But her story wasn't mine anymore. Mine was here, with firewood stacked neatly on the porch, with strangers turning into something more, with space to breathe, and maybe, if the weather held, dinner on Thursday night. It wasn't much, but it was mine, and it was just beginning.